Hi everyone, it's Gwen from Hummingbird Tarot, and today I'm doing another video in my series RWS Verses. And I'm working on Tarot of the Old Path, and I'm comparing this against a traditional Rider-Waite-Smith tarot deck, the Universal Weight tarot deck. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and don't forget to hit the bell so you're notified every week when I upload a new video. So I do this video because this is something I like to do myself. When I get a new deck, I like to compare images that are based on the Rider-Waite-Smith deck against the traditional deck itself and just see where they're similar and where they're different. And so I thought this would be interesting to share. This is the box that the Tarot of the Old Path comes in. And then this Universal Weight deck just comes in your standard tuck box. The Universal Weight deck had the little white book in it that really doesn't give you a whole lot of information. The Tarot of the Old Path deck that I got it came with a book. It was a set, and it was a really good book. It's got all kinds of information. This would be a great deck if you're a beginner to tarot. You can learn a lot about tarot from this book, and there's lots of good insight in here. And the Tarot of the Old Path, the theme of this, it's focused on the Wiccan tradition, and that's where a lot of the symbols and the images come from. So this deck is one of the oldest in my collection. It was printed, the Tarot of the Old Path was printed in 1990, and I love, this is probably one of my favorites. The artwork on the back of the deck, it's just a beautiful deck. I actually keep this deck in a bag that I made myself out of a shirt that I really liked that I wasn't wearing anymore because the colors were very similar to that. It's kind of hard to, I'm always concerned that that box is going to break. It kind of reminds me of what the VHS tapes used to come in when you'd rent a movie. It's a plastic. I know it is still available. I have seen it for sale. I did a search on it, and so you can still buy this deck, even though it is from 1990. I'll put a link, as I do in all my videos, I'll put a link below that will take you to this deck. But let's go ahead. We're just going to take a journey through the deck and take a look at all the images. Now, I should point out this deck does have a lot of nudity in it, primarily in the major arcana, but I've put little post-it notes on there. I've shared this in many of my other videos that I don't like to have nudity on my channel. I actually don't mind it when I'm using decks for myself, and I don't typically use this deck in readings for others, just in readings for myself, which is why I haven't done anything to alter the deck, as I typically do. Since I use this deck primarily for myself, and I don't mind it personally, I've just left it alone. But I have put little post-it notes on here so that I still feel comfortable with the same audience sharing this deck with you. So here's the Fool. Nothing we love better than a baby playing with fire. Oh. So one thing about this deck is that it is based on the Wiccan tradition. And then the author of this book is Howard Rodway, and the artist for this is Sylvia Gainsford. And Sylvia Gainsford, she has a lot of knowledge of flowers, so she included that as another layer and element in the deck. So for those of you that are very familiar with the traditional images, you'll see that this deck is very similar. It does have a lot more nudity than you would find in a standard Rider-Waite-Smith deck, which does also have nudity in it. I know some people are turned off by that, but I do have a video. There are so many great decks out there that sometimes people are put off by the nudity in the decks, but they love the decks themselves. And I still encourage you, if that's one of the things that you have a challenge with, to go ahead and buy those decks. And then I have a video that shows you how you can alter the decks and put clothes on them if you want. And I know some of you, so they have the guide instead of temperance. Think it's not okay to alter the decks, and I just think, you know, as soon as the deck is yours, you can do with it what you will, and you have to do what's comfortable for you. You'll notice there's lots of symbols in this deck. And this is one of the decks that I use in readings for others, so you'll see clothes have been added. And they have cauldrons instead of cups. One of the things I really appreciate about this deck is how vibrant the colors are. Very much using jewel tones. And I think it really adds a new level of energy that doesn't exist in a lot of decks. Just see, it's just so pretty. And then they have rods instead of wands. And I know that can be, I said earlier when talking about the book that this would be a good deck for beginners. Sometimes it can be hard if they change the suits on you. But the cauldrons are very similar to cups and rods are very similar to wands. So that shouldn't get too confusing for a beginner if they're trying to stay in line with Rider-Waite-Smith. But I really think the more important thing when you're choosing a deck as a beginner is to find a deck that resonates with you and you really like the artwork. And if this deck happens to be one of those decks that calls out to you, then don't let them changing the suits trip you up or be a reason why you don't take a chance on a deck. The good thing about decks is that most of them are fairly reasonably priced. And if you end up finding out that you don't resonate with the deck, you can always trade it or give it to someone else or find another deck that does work for you. There you go. That is the Tarot of the Old Path. I hope you enjoyed that, and I'll see you on the next time around. Thanks for stopping by.